morning. Welcome everyone. I'm back at home. I'm not outside in the wind for this one, which is a bit easier. And I'm super excited. I'm hoping that the next time we do this that I will be in the new trailer that I've been renovating. It might not fully be done, but I think it will be back in my driveway in another week or so. So that's exciting news. But it's still tea and taro in the living room right now. So good morning and thank you all for joining. I hope that you've been enjoying the first few days of fall. It's been beautiful weather and, getting back into the swing of things, not just, the end of summer in the fall. It's kind of getting back into the swing of things, but this year I feel like it's getting back into the swing of life after almost 2 years on hold. So some of you might be feeling like you're finally able to get things happening, which is really great. If you do have a specific question about your life, just kind of put that out there. Ask your guides and angels to bring you that answer, and then it usually will come up. And something that I'm talking about or one of the cards, you'll get your answer, you'll get your clarity, that will come to you. So let's jump in. I got some new decks. I'm always getting new decks. Yes, I have a deck problem. Full confession. So I'm going to start with one of the new decks that I received. It's called the Mystical Shaman Oracle, and it's a really, just what the cover looks like. It's a really beautiful deck. This is what the back of the card looks like. So this is the Mystical Shaman Oracle that I'm going to go to. And just so you know, nobody gives me free decks. I don't get paid to feature decks. I mean, that would be lovely. I would love to do that, but no, I buy these. These are ones that I buy on my own. And so if they're great, then I put them in my shop. If I'm not a fan, then I just, they get kind of dusty and pushed to the back. But so far I've had good luck with decks lately. They've all been really, really good. All right, so Mystical Shaman Oracle for our first card for this morning. See what we've got. Oh, torn between two. I feel like this is the one that wants to come out the most. Actually, hold on. My cards are sticking. Brand new deck, you have to really break it in. Okay, so I'm pulling this card. It's called the Witness, but I'm drawn more to the image than I am the words. So I'm just going to go into the image. And this card is asking us to go into more of our observer perspective right now. So what that means is we have a personality that gets us through the day, that helps us with surviving. Some people call it the ego, but that part of ourselves that's a bit disconnected from our divinity. And then we have our divine self, which is very connected to our soul, our spirit, and almost sometimes has a different agenda than what we think in our mind, in our who we are. So my Kerri brain is very different than my spiritual soul, the wisdom of my soul. It doesn't always line up, and sometimes it does. And this card is asking us to put ourselves in the observer perspective. So to imagine that you're standing almost behind yourself, observing yourself. And when you do this, you're immediately putting yourself in that witness position, in that observer position, where yes, you are yourself and you're going through your life, but you're a bit detached from it. So you're able to observe and notice and see what you do, how you act, what you say, why you say things. It's a great way to kind of get a different perspective and a deeper perspective as to why certain things are happening in your life, or why you have certain attachments to things, or suffering about things, or worry about things. So, and also too, if you're in a lot of fear or panic and you encounter something that's very fearful, to take that step back. And I had a teacher years ago who said it's like putting yourself behind the glass, because when they used to observe kids or people, that they had to observe behind that two-way mirror, so that on the one side it was the mirror and the other side you've got the people observing the situation. It's almost like you're putting yourself behind that glass so that you can observe the situation from a level of detachment. So Spirit's asking us to work on this level of detachment. So some of us might be a little bit too much sucked into the drama of our lives and all the emotions and all this stuff, and we feel bogged down by that, and we can't get any clarity, and it's really wreaking havoc and causing more problems. So Spirit's like saying, take a step back, be that observer, look at it from that higher perspective. You're going to see things that you missed when you're in the feeling of it all. So it's not about like not having emotions and not caring and all of that stuff. You still have those things. It's just about taking a time out from that so that you can get a different, clearer perspective. So that's coming up for the next 2 weeks, and that should be interesting. Okay, so going to the Magdalene card. Oh, and I think Mercury's in retrograde as of yesterday, so fun times ahead for those of you who feel affected by Mercury. Sometimes I skate right through it without a hitch. Other times it gets me. So I'm kind of, it's kind of like walking on a rough road with potholes. Like sometimes you're gonna fall in the pothole, even if you're careful, other times not at all. So the Magdalene card I pulled for this morning is Serendipity. And I'm really drawn to the star at the top of her head there. And this card I feel is asking us to not just connect to our intuition and connect to our divinity, but to connect to that inner fire of creativity and passion and what you love about life. Because we all love different things about being here. And it's about cultivating that love or that joy or that passion for something. And some of you might feel like you've lost your passion for something. Maybe you started a project or a relationship and you were all in, and now you're like, what was I thinking? This is horrible. Well, this is the perfect time that we're in right now. Mercury retrograde is about going back to your past a bit and reflecting, looking at those past projects that you started that you didn't complete, or those things that were left undone. Now it's time to go through them all and discard for good the ones you're never going to touch again, and to pick up the other ones and maybe complete them if they're important to you. But it's okay about letting stuff go, because if you guys are like me, I like doing a lot of things, and sometimes I take on too much and then I'm like, oh my God, I have too many things happening. I don't know how to fix that about myself. It's just how I'm wired. I'm not happy unless I have like 3 balls in the air. So I like to juggle a lot. So, but what Spirit is saying is pick those most important things to focus on now and shelve the other ones. But when you're shelving the other ones, make sure they're worth shelving, because sometimes it's okay to let things go. And this could even be letting physical clutter go. You know, sometimes we hang on to things because we're like, well, I'm not using it now, but I might use it a year from now, or a couple months from now, or 5 years from now, or 20 years from now, or somebody might find it useful. Maybe go through your stuff with more of a, am I using it now? Will I use it in the next year? And be a little more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what that word is, but, tougher on yourself with that. Because this card is asking us to connect to our creativity to create new things, but you can't do that if you don't have the space to create new things. And I'm not just talking about the physical space, I'm talking about the mental, emotional space. We've all been through a lot of junk in the last 2 years with this whole thing, and we're still clearing a lot of it out. So some of you might feel like you're not fully in your energy of wanting to create something new, or not even knowing what your future looks like. You might still be kind of having post-traumatic stress from the last couple of years, and that's okay. But Spirit's asking us to connect to what's really important and to use that joy or that passion for something as a barometer of whether or not you want to keep it in your life and if it's worth working with. Now, if you're not feeling passionate about something and you're not loving something anymore and you once did, sometimes your lack of passion or lack of excitement about it has nothing to do with the fact that it's not for you, and it has more to do with the fact that your energy is low. So by clearing these extra things out of your life that you know you don't need, you'll be able to look at those things you're not sure about and you'll get more clarity. So this is about connecting to that fire or passion within yourself that creates all things, and also clearing up some of those bits in your life that you don't need right now. All right, and hopefully that helps get the ball rolling. And sometimes just taking action in any direction, even if you don't know what you're doing, but you're just taking some kind of movement anywhere, it gets the ball rolling, and then you start getting clarity right away. Like if you take 2 steps in a direction and it doesn't feel good, then you know to back up. But just sitting there doing nothing is going to create more sitting there doing nothing, which really over time is not good. We are meant to move. We are meant to create. We are meant to keep going. So even if you're going backward, it's better than doing nothing. That's my advice anyway. All right, so I'm going to the Moonology cards next to see what they have to say about life, the universe, and everything right now. Don't let pride get in your way. Ooh, okay, so that's the card that's coming up. And I feel like this card is saying, don't get pride in your way. It's got the lion of speaking your truth. Say what you need to say with people. Don't let your pride get in the way and hold yourself back because maybe you feel like, oh, they're not worthy of hearing what I have to say, or maybe they won't hear me, or maybe I shouldn't say it because I'm not worthy. You know, this is about speaking your truth and doing it in a loving way and knowing that what you have to say is important and not getting your ego involved in it. You know, not letting it go into your head too much and thinking about it too much. Be like a little kid here. You know how little kids just blurt stuff out? It's usually the truth, but they just like, it comes out of their mouth with no filter. Spirit's asking us to communicate in that way. Like, don't let it get tangled up with in your head too much. If you have to say something, say it to somebody. Try to do it in a loving way, but don't hold it in. Don't let that get in your way of saying what you need to say. Okay? Really important. Now, where are we going to go now? Ooh, I think magic of unicorns. Because, you know, gotta have a magical unicorn. All right. I'm very, like, my cat totally, my cards are a little askew this morning. My cat did a kind of a dive into them once I had set them all up. I was like, okay, Merlin. He turned 3 the other day. I can't believe it. He's like an old man in terms of his head and how it works, but young body, and that he still tries to like catch flies on my ceiling. Okay, magic of unicorns, manifest your dreams. So this is in alignment with that card that I picked where I was talking about your passion and your creativity and reconnecting to that and finding that. It's hard to manifest your dreams unless you have some kind of space or clarity to do that. But this card is saying, even in the midst of chaos, Spirit wants you to focus. And for some of you, you might think, oh yeah, I'm sending it out there, I'm thinking it, and it's going out there, and my guides and angels know what I want because I've been thinking it all the time. And this card is saying, no, you need to actually write it down or draw a picture of it or do a vision board. Do something 3-dimensional and physical that you put your focus on, that's saying to Spirit, like, this is what I really need right now. This is what I want to bring into my life. So either whether it's you create some kind of art, writing it down, or making a symbol. I like to make a symbol instead of words. Sometimes I find that easier where I'll draw a picture and it represents a bunch of things that I'd like to create or bring into my life right now. And I know what that symbol means, and Spirit knows what that symbol means, and I find it just easier, and I'll stick it on my bathroom mirror or on my fridge or somewhere where I'm going to see it every day, and I know what that symbol means, but when someone walks in my house, they don't necessarily know what it means. So it's sort of nice. You can, rather than having words and affirmations everywhere, which is fun too, but we're being asked to focus on manifesting our dreams, and we might not know fully what those are, but we're to start taking the steps towards that. So start planting the seeds, start asking Spirit for help and clarity, start focusing on what you want. Often we decide what we want based on what we don't want. Usually it's when we have some kind of dissatisfaction in our lives and we're like, I'm done with this. I've had enough of this. I never want this again. This is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And then that helps us discern what we do want. So we're to focus on what we do want more than what we don't want right now, because we're constantly creating. And if you focus on what you don't want all of the time, you're just going to create more situations that you don't want. So Spirit's saying, focus on manifesting your dreams, see them clearly, and use that process of writing them down, drawing something, making a symbol to help you bring that into 3-dimensional reality, and that can get the ball rolling. Okay? All right, so now we're going to go to the Spirit Animal Oracle deck, which is one of my faves. I think I like it too because it's a big deck. I'm like, if you're going to make a deck, there's nothing wrong with throwing an extra 10 cards in there. I mean, come on, right? Choice is everything, which is why I have like a million decks. You don't need a million Oracle decks. You just need one. You just need one that you really connect with. And it's really good if you have a deck, you know, spend some time with it, like get to know it, play with it, just like you would when you're meeting someone new. You spend time with them, you get to know them, It's the same with your deck. It's not a living, breathing thing, but it does have energy. And the more you work with your deck, the more your energy is imprinted on it. All right, so I pulled the beaver spirit, which is really interesting because ironically, it was just talking about beavers the other day like with a couple of friends, and just how they're so intense. Like when they're building something, like my dad had beavers on his land years ago, and he didn't like the beavers building a dam, and so he would take it down and they would rebuild it. Like they just don't give up. And when beavers come up, it's all about laying a strong foundation. Sometimes in our lives when we create something and we put a lot of time and effort and energy into it, whether it's a relationship or maybe a career or even building a house, but it takes a lot of time and effort and industry to create it, and then it might fall apart. Or we might decide after we build it, we're like, oh, I wish I had done it differently, or I need to start over again. And so Beaver Spirit's coming up to say to us, it's okay if you feel like you need to do a rebuild. It's okay if you need to start over again, because you're going to build that solid foundation and you're going to do it from a place of wisdom that you didn't have before. So even if you spend a lot of time building something and it looks like it falls apart, you don't lose from that experience. You get to take that wisdom of the experience forward for the next build. So for any of you who've ever built houses before or done any kind of renovations, you know what I'm talking about. Each renovation you get a bit smarter. You're like, you need more electrical outlets than you thought the first time. You think of where your switches are. Like that's just the electrical stuff. But you get really, in a renovation, sometimes you start making changes as you go along, because when you look at the blueprints, you can't actually see it. And when you're walking through the building, you're like, yeah, I need a door there. I want the window bigger. And so that's why renovations are always more money than you originally think, because you're constantly changing. But the Beaver Spirit, that energy is with us. And it's not just about like physical building. It's about building your reality. It's about going forward and creating your dreams. And you're laying a solid foundation right now. So don't get frustrated if it feels like not a lot is happening, because even just the thinking about it and the planning it, that is huge. That is the biggest part of creating anything. It's like creating those plans, creating those blueprints. So nothing's happening in your physical reality. It's all still kind of an idea, but that's when you're laying the foundation. So don't get frustrated. Spend the right amount of time doing that until you get clarity, and then start building. But Beaver Spirit's saying, that solid foundation is where it's at, and that's the energy that we're in right now. So even with Mercury being retrograde, if a lot of you feel like things have slowed down or stopped, and we've had a whole kind of couple of years of things being stopped, don't get frustrated, because for some of you, we needed that time. It was like a timeout or a forced spiritual retreat where you made some big changes in your life, or you really got connected to yourself in different ways, and maybe it was difficult, but now where you are now is in a much different place. It was like we got fast-tracked in a way through all of our junk, through all of our stuff, and now people are starting to live their lives from a place of like, what do I want? Like, what does my soul need? Rather than being so busy with a job and all those things that you could never think of those things. So it's kind of been awful in a lot of ways for people, but it's been really beautiful at the same time. And Beaver's saying, don't worry about the rebuilds. You've got this. You're going to build it smarter, stronger, and better than last time. You bring all that wisdom forward with you. It was worth it. You haven't lost anything. So that's a message for some of you who are struggling a bit. I'm going to the romance angels. They kind of popped out. I wasn't sure if I should bring them out today, and now they're like, yes, so some of you or one of you or somebody here today has romance questions. So we're going to the romance angel cards and see what comes up. Okay, so maybe you're questioning a relationship. Soulmate card came up. So for those of you who are looking for your soulmate, this is a really good time to put yourself out there. This person's not going to come knock on your front door. I mean, it could happen, but you have to, meet the universe halfway. But I feel like you're getting closer to this. Like this is happening. So if you've been dating a lot and you're like, where's my person? This is going to happen quite soon for you. And some of you might have been dating somebody and you're just not sure. You're like, is this my person? Sometimes I think so. Sometimes I'm not sure. You're going to find out very soon if they are or not. Like, I feel like something will happen that will give you that clarity around it. And some of you know who your soulmate is, and that person's out there, and you're just too much of a chicken to go and get them. So get off your couch and go tell them how you feel. Do something about it. Take some action. As Spirit's saying, you know, Spirit is saying that they've met us halfway. Now we have to take some action too. So those of you complaining that you're single, get out there and do something, because Spirit's got your back. So you've got that like support team, but you have to go take some action. You know, sign up for a workshop. Go hang out where people are. Like, you want to be with the person, you have to go where the people are. You can't just expect everyone to come to your house. Unless you start breaking things because you want to date a repairman and just start smashing stuff in your house. You do have to get outside. You have to go meet people. Now, I know online dating's terrible sometimes, but sometimes it can be great. It's all the intention you go into with it. So if you've tried online dating and you've really struggled, try going into it with the attitude of Christmas morning, like you're going to find a nice surprise in there, and see how that shifts things for you. All right, so this is another new deck. So I want to show you the cover of it. It's the Sacred Traveler Oracle. I really like it. I don't know why. It just works for me. So let's go. Also, the purple back on it is really nice. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so I just pulled the Wondrous Beauty card, asking us to walk in beauty, the wondrous universe, rather. So this is about how you are in the world. You know, when you walk out your door, we can think about all the awful things that are going on in the world. There are always going to be awful things going on in the world. Always. It doesn't matter what time you live in. There's always something. There's always something you can focus on. There's always some negativity you can focus on. There's always something you can complain about. There's always something you can get your knickers in a twist about and just like be so mad for days about. But there's also the opposite of that too. You can walk out your door and see the beauty in everything. You can even see the beauty in the chaos and the beauty in the challenge and the beauty in another person's eyes and the beauty in a stranger's smile and the beauty in the way the wind just kind of caresses your body, the way the sunlight shines through the leaves and the trees. I mean, when you wake up and you expect to see wondrous beauty throughout your day, that's what you see. And sometimes even if you don't expect to see it, like the other day I was kind of rushing around and I was putting stuff in my car and my neighbor said to me, "Kerri, your lawn." And I was like thinking, yeah, I know half of it's dead. I don't know what happened. I had this new sod laid last year and it's died again for the third time. I was like about to say, yeah, I know my grass is totally dead. And I looked over and there was a fox on my front lawn just hanging out, just scratching and having a bath and just like chilling. And I was like, what? That's amazing. So sometimes we miss the magic because my Kerri mindset was like, oh, my grass and, you know, so I didn't even notice the fox on my lawn until she pointed it out. And I was like, that's terrible. So I do it too. We all do it too. Sometimes we have this filter of negativity for a moment or for a day, or it could last an entire year. But Spirit's asking us to not forget like the wondrous beauty out in the world and even just in ourselves. Like, we're magical beings. Even just the fact that this body is operating, like all the magical processes going on, even just within your human body, is mind-blowing. You know, not to mention everything happening outside your door. So to remember that and to wake up in the morning and to start to think and expect miracles in your day and those wonderful synchronicities, it's a really beautiful perspective to try. You know, I encourage you just to try that for one day, no matter what kind of mood you're in. Just wake up in the morning and decide today's a magical day. Wonderful things are going to happen, and I'm just going out there to explore and discover those magical things and just see what happens and see how things shift. So, all right, let's all try that for the next 2 weeks. And now let's go to the Native Spirit Oracle. Okay. So, also too, some of you guys have sent me donations recently for this. Thank you so much. It's so nice. I mean, like, I do this for free. Like, I'm not like saying that because I'm like, y'all, please donate. But I do appreciate it because I am self-employed, and just like the rest of you through this time, it's been really crazy not being able to work a lot of the time with the closing and opening and closing and opening. And anyway, we've all found a way to make it work. So I just pulled the owl medicine card. Okay. And I know some people have a thing with owls. If they see owls or dream of owls, that means like a message for them. But for me, when owls show up, it's a real message from spirit. It's like about that inner wisdom. It's about really using that inner wisdom and that intuition. And when an owl shows up in my life, it's like the owl is saying, pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening around you so you don't miss something fantastic. So owls also see really well in the dark. And so when owl comes to me, it's reminding me of the ability to see in the dark. So yes, in the day we see with our eyes, the light, but at night we dream. And when we dream, we're seeing in the dark. We're seeing those images in the dark. So sometimes when owl comes to me, it's a reminder to pay attention to my dreams. And some of you might not dream, and some of you might not remember your dreams. But even if you just get a little book and set the intention to have a dream journal and have that intention out there, you might find that you start recalling some things from your dreams. You might wake up and just have a feeling, or some kind of sensation, or remember a color. This morning I woke up with a song in my head. And sometimes that happens. I'll just pop awake with a song in my head. And it might be a song I haven't heard in a really long time. And I'll be like, what's happening? And then when I look at the lyrics, it's like, oh, that's perfect for what's happening in my life right now. So little magical things like that. But when owl comes, it's usually, there's usually some kind of wisdom from spirit coming with that animal. And so we're being asked to, as I threw the cards all over the floor here, oh my gosh. We're being asked to pay attention to our dreams, and to also pay attention to the things that we see with our inner eye in the darkness when our eyes are closed. Like when you close your eyes and connect, what is it you see or what is it you feel? And to pay attention to those sensations and those images and those feelings. Sound good? All right. So let's go to our next deck. Which one is this? This is the Sacred Destiny. Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure I didn't tell you the wrong deck. So we're in the Sacred Destiny Oracle, also by Denise Lynn. She's the one that did the Sacred Traveler card. So I do have some decks here, a few decks from the same author or deck creator, because a lot of people may have several decks out there. You know what, this is funny. I feel like I need to pull the one off the top for this one. Okay. And this card, I'm drawn to the image more than the words. Pardon me, but I do feel like the message on the card going forward is very important. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a moment here. I'm not used to talking so much. Yeah, so my voice is like, ah. All right, so going forward. Now, going forward can be really difficult sometimes if you've had something happen that's devastating. And you're really like in the hell of things falling apart, or loss, grief or loss. And it can be really, really difficult to see a millimeter ahead of you, let alone a step in front of you. And it's at those times where sometimes even in the worst experiences of our lives, there's sort of this feeling or sensation that someone's around you, or someone's holding you or guiding you through it. You might feel that from spirit, or you might feel it from actual physical people around you that come and rally around you and help carry you through this tragedy or this sadness or whatever it is you've experienced that's been really rough. And this going forward card is encouraging us to keep moving forward towards that light, even though it might seem like a really long journey to get there, to being okay. But it's about the process. It's about being okay with the process and even enjoying the process as you get there. in our lives, sometimes it's the really horrible tragedies, or it's the really big things that shock us or scare us, where we learn the most and we find out who we are more than anything else in life. And it's awful that we have to have those experiences. And it's especially awful when we go through experiences where we lose loved ones or friends, and whether they pass on or move far away, it can be really hard. They've been in your life and then all of a sudden they're not really in your life anymore. But Spirit is asking us to continue forward, even if it's baby steps, to follow that light. It is there, and you are protected, you are guided, and you're held through these transitions. And it does make us appreciate things more. It makes us love a little harder. It makes us just appreciate those things even more once we've had loss in our life. So this card is reminding us that even though we've had loss in our life, we are never alone. Spirit is always with us, and we are being held as we're carried forward. But we need to keep moving forward. Even if we don't feel we can, we need to keep moving forward. And if you ever get to the point where you're really struggling, that's when you need to reach out to someone else and hold their hand and let them help you. Maybe it's only for a couple steps that you need that help, and then you're on your way. But to be able to reach out and ask for help if you need it, it's really important. Okay? So let's go to our next deck. All right. The Enchanted Map Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. We'll go to this one next. Okay. An interesting card. I don't think I've ever pulled this one in this deck in my life. And it's home, right? And an interesting card, especially to me lately, because I do have a home and I feel at home in my home. But I also feel like I'm looking for a new home. Not permanently, but I'm just like contemplating perhaps renting my house out for a year and maybe going nomadic as long as I have Wi-Fi. But that probably won't happen right away. And interesting, look at the owl here. Can you see that? We were talking about owl and then the clock, about the time. So home, is it an actual physical place? I don't think so. I think it's that feeling inside of you, and I think it's the people in our lives that make us feel home. You can feel at home on your own too. Like sometimes when I'm in my tent in the woods, I feel like I'm home. And I've had the feeling of home before too. The first time I smelled burning sage, the first time I was smudged, I wept because I was like, oh my God, this is from home. I remember this smell. And so we can have that feeling of home when we meet someone, a good friend, a dear friend or loved one. And in that feeling of home, we might have the feeling of home from our family. Thanksgiving is coming up and Christmas. And for some people, that's that feeling of home where you all gather and you're able to spend time together. But home, I think, is really like a construct in the mind and the emotions rather than a physical place. I really do. Although some of us do get attached to our physical representations of home. Home and our ultimate home when we leave this planet, leave the meat suit behind and become pure spirit again, that is our true home. So it is normal to kind of live on the planet and never really have that feeling of being home. Like it's always like, I'm kind of home, but it doesn't fully feel like home. And I think that's because we're only here for a limited time. Our real home is like, I guess, being homeless in a way. So, but this card is asking us to consider the idea of home and maybe do things in your living space to make it feel more like home. Before going into winter as well, like do whatever you need to do in your physical space to create a sacred space for yourself so that going into the winter, it's like your nest, it's like your comfort, right? So bring whatever you need to into that space to create a frequency that's, beneficial to you. So we're being asked to look at the idea of home, consider the idea of home, contemplate what that idea of home means to you. For some people, home is a person, like they're with someone and they feel at home with them. They could be living anywhere, and as long as that person's with them, they feel like they're at home. But also too, when you cultivate that relationship with spirit, that's also another way to feel at home. So let's see how that unfolds for everyone over the next 2 weeks. I know for me, this card means like, Kerri, declutter your house, because I have a lot going on. I haven't had time to address it. I haven't even put my camping gear away properly yet. I had to air everything out. So, I feel a little chaotic in my house right now. I feel like there's too many things. And you can see behind me, I also collect crystals, which, I'm okay with. But I should probably stop doing that. Oh, by the way, Crystal and Gem Show, for those who are local in Ancaster, this weekend coming up, the 2nd and 3rd, and it's great. Like, it's a great place to go get crystals. Speaking of crystals, I will not be going probably because I don't need any more, but it's hard to not go because it's so great. Anyway, a little side trail there. So let's go to the Spellcasting Oracle for our next card. And this was a deck I didn't expect to like. I just don't know why. Like, the cover of it was like, but once I got into the cards, I'm like, these cards are good. All right, so, the Ancaster Fairgrounds is where the crystal show is being held. So if you Google like Crystal and Gem Show or Rock Show Ancaster, I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but it might just be Saturday and Sunday. And I don't think they charge admission, but they might. I'm not sure. They never used to, but it's great with for the kids too. They sometimes have stuff for the kids. So I just pulled the forgiveness card, and I've really drawn to the water here. And normally when I pull a forgiveness card, it's usually about forgiving other people, like or things that have happened to you. But I really feel loudly like Spirit saying this is self-forgiveness. This has nothing to do with anyone else right now. This has to do with you forgiving yourself. So if you've made choices or perceived mistakes, or you zigged when you felt you should have zagged, or maybe this is connected to other people that you need to forgive as well. But the key piece here for most of you is forgiveness of yourself. Because the message I'm getting from Spirit is some of you are trapped in a cycle of abuse, like self-abuse, where you might take some actions that you don't think are wise, and then afterwards you beat yourself up, then you feel terrible, and then in the feeling terrible you make other bad choices that you then later hate yourself for and beat yourself up for, and you're just in this constant cycle of self-abuse. And Spirit saying just the way to stop that wheel is to like put a stick in the spoke, and that stick is forgiveness of yourself, and just saying, listen, I screwed up. I made a crazy choice. It didn't end up being good, but whatever. I learned from it. Maybe I hung in it too long. I don't know, but forgive yourself. And that is the key to moving forward and getting off that wheel of repetition. So for some people, this can show up in relationships. They keep ending up in the same relationship cycle, different people, same cycle, because they haven't forgiven themselves. And so once you do that, it shifts your frequency and it shifts the things that are attracted to you. This can happen at work. People could be in a terrible work situation and they leave it to a new job only to find they're in the same situation and the people have changed. It's the same thing. And so this forgiveness is key. Some people are stuck in a cycle of addiction. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could be food. It could be all kinds of things we're addicted to. Some of us are addicted to our emotions, where we need to get angry every day, or we need to feel sorry for ourselves every day, or feel victimized. Like, these are all addictive cycles, and the human body loves an addictive cycle. Like, we are chemically built to love this stuff. So forgiveness is key. We need to throw some of that in there. So try that on, even if you struggle with it, really focus on it. And if you are really struggling, then ask Spirit, ask your guides and angels to help you forgive yourself if you're struggling with it. And it's not going to be done in a single day. I mean, not for most of you. So baby step your way through it. But it's key. It doesn't matter about other people forgiving you or you forgiving them. This forgiveness of self is the most important thing right now. Okay? So we'll all do it. We all need to do it at least a little bit for something. Now, where should we go next? So we've got, I think, time for one more. And then I think I'm going to go to the Work Your Light deck. and then we'll go to the angel cards to wrap it up. I just pulled this card of retreat and rest and replenishment. So some of you are feeling a little burnt out, even though we've just come off the end of summer, which is, for me, it's always a restorative time. It's like get all charged up from the sun and the fresh air and just really enjoy. But some of you are tired. Some of you are feeling kind of drained and like low energy and just physically and not quite right. And this is about allowing yourself some time to just replenish yourself. So taking a time out, taking a day, going on a retreat, maybe just taking 24 hours where you're not doing anything. Maybe you're just listening to healing music or going for walks in the woods or connecting with friends or doing things that are really going to replenish you deeply on a soul level. For some of you, this might be looking at even things like nutrition and what you're putting into your body. Maybe the things you're putting into your body are not giving your body what it needs, and so you're feeling fatigued when you wake up because you're not getting enough nutrition. So it might be looking at something like that. Some of you might need more downtime. Maybe you need to have a bath before bed, or get off your phone and take a break, or just get outside or get a hammock, whatever it is. But we are to really pay attention to our energy, and if it's low, to do things to help get it higher, okay? Again, this doesn't have to happen in a single day, but Spirit just wants us to honestly look at our energy and give ourselves an energy audit. Like, where are you losing energy in your life? What's draining you? Is it a person? Is it a situation? Is it a thought? What is it? And how can you remedy that? Maybe you need to have a conversation with a person. Maybe you need to change your thinking slightly. Maybe, whatever it is, but we're to focus on replenishing ourselves. And if that means taking space and telling everybody, you know what, I'm going to hermit for a week or a day, then do that. Do what you need to do. If there is a retreat you can go on that you're drawn to doing, then do that, because this is about charging your battery so that you can get your energy higher, so that you can then keep doing what you're doing. And I'm a mom. My kids are older now, they're in school, but I remember when my kids were young, I loved being a mom, loved it so much. But some days I was exhausted. And it was like, how can I get more energy? Like, I'm just totally drained. And so sometimes it's really hard to replenish yourself. Sometimes you do have to just take a time out, and find a way to raise your energy up. And it's different for each person what works, but it's up to you to figure out what works for you so that you can do that, okay? That's definitely before we get into winter. You want to get your energy going good. So to wrap it up, we're going to go to our angel wing cards we normally go to. I just realized I didn't put my headphones in today. The sound is usually a bit better when I do that. Sometimes I forget. All right, so the silver wing card, steady crystal energy and wisdom. Well, you know how I take that. I'm like, we'll go to the Ancaster Gem Show and get some new crystal babies. That's not what the card says, but that's what it says. I'm just kidding. Put your financial affairs in order. Interesting, this has kind of come up for me lately. I'm more of a creative person. I kind of look at my bank account and I'm like, oh, there's money in there and there's enough to pay my bills, and that I leave it at that. But this is about maybe taking it to a deeper level, maybe finding a financial planner or a friend or a loved one or someone who can kind of audit your stuff with you and see what you can change or tweak or alter to make things a lot easier. Because we can't be experts in everything, right? And that is not my area of expertise, so I need to get help with things like that. I'm good with all the other stuff though. And the key is violet for psychic and spiritual development. So focusing on that violet or that purple, maybe when you're meditating, especially, it's great for the third eye chakra to clear things, help you get more clarity with your intuition, or imagining your whole body is enveloped in violet energy. I love to use a meditation using violet flames to clear out any junk. So surround yourself with purple. I mean, again, I take that as go to the gem show and buy some amethyst. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm crazy. I'll probably see you at the gem show, though, even though I said I'm not going. I imagine I'll sneak out and get there one of the days. So I hope that today was useful. Thank you for joining. All of the past tea and tarots are available on Instagram. You can scroll down and find them, or on my website, circleoflightwellness.com. And even though they were done maybe months ago or weeks ago, you might find something that's relevant in one of them. It's kind of fun to go through all of them and see which one jumps out at you. There might be a message in one that really reaches you. Hopefully you guys had your questions answered today. If you have an oracle card deck, I encourage you to play around with it and ask questions and just get to know it and have fun with it. Use it with your friends and family and really enjoy. So enjoy the rest of the week. It's beautiful, sunny where I am. Hopefully it is for you too. And hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll be doing this in the trailer, the little new trailer. So hopefully, crossing our fingers. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for coming by.